Is it?
Yeah, because I'm not a grade 3.
Oh, 13.
It's 18. It gets 5k, it just doesn't get a crit right now, because I'm not a grade 3. Hey everyone, this is Kerb, and I bring you another standard match. Today we have myself on the right, finally, once again, playing Magnolia. So we've edited the deck a little bit since Festival Booster did come out recently. And let's go ahead and test and see how the deck changes and how those changes feel, basically. But as you can see, I'm going to be going up against Veleno on the left. Of course, I am going to be going second, which is technically where Veleno wants to be because, if you guys don't know, I do actually dabble in a little Veleno myself, and I do very much like the deck, but unfortunately it's just not something that I enjoy playing too regularly. It is definitely still a fun deck. But anyways, getting into the match, I am going second, just going to be riding into the Karis, just swinging in there. One of the weaknesses of Magnolia is that it really doesn't have very much of an early game, kind of mostly due to the fact that you don't really play any grade 1s in the deck, so you really don't have the ability to call a lot of stuff in boosters in the early game. But we do have, you know, Stoicheia just riding up to the grade 2. We each hit into a heal trigger for our first damage, which was kind of funny. But of course, I'm going to be riding on into my grade 2, just discarding that MPix, because obviously Stoicheia doesn't actually have any form of retire, so I don't really have to worry about my board being interfered with, so I can just go ahead and get rid of him. And of course, with the toolbox nature of Magnolia, I can just have access to MPix pretty much any time that I want. Anyways, off the Karis, we are going to see an Alpin, just going to be calling it, going to be playing that Naturia habitat, going to be trying to search out for, honestly, I think I'm looking for my set order setter, which is, you know, the new card from Festival Collection, this one right here. I do manage to get him, so calling him out is going to enable me to on-place Soul Blast 1, and then go ahead and just set the order directly from my deck. Even though I did play another order, it just, you know, it counts as set by a card effect. So now I've got a full front row. I do kind of lose to a defensive here, which, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I got literally both of these units on board for playing one card effectively, and one of them even deck thinned me. Well, I basically deck thinned twice, played one card from hand, and now have a full front row. So in my eyes, that's a pretty, like, still solid. Even if it does lose to a defensive, you know, we're still going to push damage. But we're going to swing the 10 here, praying and hoping we don't get a defensive, or that our opponent, you know, guards this. We can at least get some 5k shield. It looks like they're going to be taking it, which is, I think, the correct play, because you do kind of want to bank on the defensive. Unfortunately for them, it is not going to be coming out. I don't see anything off the drive check, but they're going to be taking the Vanguard, which maybe is a little questionable if they have a 15k shield. But, you know, no trigger and no defensive means this last one is going to be swinging for another 10, which they're going to just commit the trigger. I think you probably should have guarded the Vanguard with that instead, just in case, because otherwise you would have been, like, eating a lot of damage there. But riding up into the grade 3 Stoicheia, this is where things start to get a little bit scary, going first, because, you know, giving everything 5k, if you can amass those 3 Velenos on the board, is going to result in, you know, a lot of just, like, high magic numbers that are going to be definitely a lot of pressure in the early game, which, you know, like I said, is not really Mag's strong point. But we do see the floor here being called out using a skill, counterblasting the 1. We do definitely have lots of counterblast, you know, for all of our skills. Although we really can only commit the CB to floor this turn, or perhaps that new card which you just fetch off of the top 5 there, that grade 1 that lets you add, it's basically just overcome the natural death, but better because it is on a body, whereas opposed, you know, overcome the natural death is, you know, just an order card, and you don't really want to be playing it on your turn. Anyways, we see another floor coming on down here. I'm going to be searching out the multi-attacker there, so we've definitely got access to all 3 of the Velenos that we definitely need here. Honestly, we don't even need to call like that much. We could just, like, move the floor, but looks like we might be committing some. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and commit the extra booster. Honestly, there's no reason not to. Magnolia as a deck doesn't really have access to any sort of, you know, removal, so you don't really have to worry about any of your regards going anywhere. I don't think we have any blitz orders, so I guess it doesn't matter. The one thing I was going to say is you can put the new grade 1 up there so that, like, I can't attack into it if it removes itself off board. But, you know, it is what it is. So A little bit of a misplay here. My opponent's going to swing 18k. Even though I am at grade 2, that just means that he can't reset. He really should have boosted there. But, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and take advantage of that. Use the Flowering Sweet Chop to intercept with that guy. You do see that I did accidentally put him in the drop zone. I'm going to go ahead and fix that later. Swing the Stoicheia for 18. You see with the counter, he thought that it gets a crit, but once again, we don't get a crit. We just get 5k because I am not at grade 3. Almost hitting a critical trigger there by accident, but instead they hit the heal trigger, which I guess is a little bit more impactful in this situation. They do get a heal down, take a like counter charge, I guess, and then just add an extra 10k to that other column, which is still pretty big. 38. That's like a 30k guard just to block it. So I still don't really have access to a whole bunch of shield value yet. That doesn't really happen until you get to Magnolia Elder. So I'm kind of thinking, I guess, I want to take this. I think that it's just worth it to take the damage rather than just like lose out on like probably 2 cards from my hand in order to guard that. That would have been like 2 15k shields. I do have the ideal discard target here, where I'm going to be discarding that Stridefighter Dragon, energy charging the 3. Riding into the Magnolia is going to allow me to activate several skills here. I have the Lattice skill. I have the I guess I'll just be calling it Glarv, and then I do have access to 1 Goyodo in my drop zone. So we're first going to put the Goyodo into the soul with this one skill, give my Vanguard 5k. We're going to use the skill of Glarv, since I discard it for riding to grade 3. I can draw a card, and then I'm going to use Lattice's skill to Soul Blast out the Goyodo and choose grade 3 or grade card from my drop zone and add it to my hand, which of course is going to be that Glarver. So basically I rode for free, and I even drew a card. So now I just kind of have to decide how I want to set my board up. I do only have 1 Goyodo in circulation right now, so the plan is to try and get a Goyodo into the drop zone, and then maybe just get like a whole bunch of advantage as much as I can. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start building a board, calling the Goyodo behind the Vanguard, calling an Alpin here, but then I look back at my hand and I realize that I actually have something better than the Alpin to call that I somehow completely forgot about. And that card is called Forbid All, which, you know, can get me just a free rear guard. There's no real reason to call the Alpin because I'd rather just like have the Inglarver there to just like swing, even if it's just swinging at a rear guard. And it just like saves me a card in hand. And I mean, in the other, what am I even trying to say? It also, the Inglarver is just instead gonna get me a card straight from my drop zones, and I have a decent amount of them that are good to get back right here now. So just getting that Elder, I'm going to be using Glarver skill, revealing the Elder. I am losing out on 1 soul here. That means I only have like 1 extra soul. I'm thinking about, oh, I just added the Goyodo. So even if I didn't have it, I would have been able to, you know, have the Goyodo anyway. I think I realized there, I was thinking about adding the set order searcher, but I realized, oh, he's actually supposed to be in the bind zone, so I just put him there and didn't get back. Swing the Vanguard for 18, a decent number, so they don't want to guard it. Unfortunately, hitting into a defensive trigger here, you know, they didn't hit any last turn, so I guess it makes sense that they would hit one now. Just using the Magnolia, giving the skill to the Goyodo there. Unfortunately, nothing else is going to be hitting the Vanguard outside of that Goyodo, so I'm going to be working on some cleanup. Definitely something that you can do with the deck, and I think you should be doing, is just focusing on, you know, cleaning up their rears. You have 6 attacks, so you might as well just use them for removal, just to make your turns that much weaker. Of course, Alpin, unfortunately, only gets power when it attacks a Vanguard, so it is just going to be swinging 10k at the floor, but, you know, it's still going to die, so it doesn't really make a difference. Of course, our Goyodo is going to be swinging at the Vanguard when using skill to draw a card, but that is going to be met with the response of that Blitz order, giving the 20k shield and allowing them to draw the card, counter charge, and that's going to be the end of my turn. Only goes 4 attacks. So we are going to Persona Ride here with the Stoicheia. So things are looking a little bit scary here. I am technically at 3 damage, but you can see the size of my hand. I have the Intercept. I also have the set order to intercept with my 15k shield here. I'm not really worried that I'm going to die here outside of maybe something like an OT, just randomly on the Vanguard if I try and hard guard it. We do have access to a second restander there, so I guess that's a little bit scary because, you know, like attacks. And obviously we do have the 5, but it looks like we don't actually have an ideal board here, as we see 3 of the overcoming the Eternity, Overcoming an Eternity, whatever it's called, just being played there. Like, they're still 13Ks. They're not as good as Floor, because Floor is a 15K. But, you know, it still makes numbers. It hits. It doesn't make good numbers, but, you know, numbers are numbers. What else can I say? And so we're going to start off with the Restander here, swinging in. I'm just going to be intercepting, revealing the grade 4, of course, because I'm not on grade 4, and going to be guarding with the Brave Shooter, which, if you noticed, I forgot to EV7 last turn, and it didn't matter because I drew one off of the Goildo. Yeah, that's totally what I planned the whole time. Anyway, single Scarazia here, definitely a very big threat. It is 41 with 2 damage, so that is just going to be responding to my PG, which I am also glad to do because it lets me discard a Goildo there. So we have 2 in the drop zone, all set up for when we ride Elder next turn, as we are, of course, just going to be restanding. The Restander, giving the crit and the power to it, is going to make it a very powerful attack. This other attack swing for 36, still a sizable number. I'm going to go ahead and take that, just because, you know, if I had a defensive, it makes this much easier, and I think I would rather be at 4 than 5 right now. Maybe there's an argument to that, but I think, like, just being able to do it, I don't really need the CB, and I still do have plenty of cards now. So we're doing 33, 43, just seeing what I want to do, what I want to use here. Another reason why it feels, I'm going to go ahead and use an Englarver here as a 15k shield. That's going to put me to matching. I just need an extra 5k, just going to intercept with the Alpin. Another reason why it feels good to still be able to, like, guard with the Englarver is because you can guard with it, and then you can just go Banana Sparty and, you know, reboard it back, and now you still have 15k shield. So it honestly just, this deck feels so much better with that set order, kind of like fixing a lot of the problems that we did originally have. Anyways, we are going to be going Goldotes, placing the Elder. One goes to Soul. Elder skill activates, calling out the Goldo, and the other one, now that there's no longer Goldo, is going to allow you to put it in there, giving you another 5k to the Vanguard. So effectively, that gives you a Persona Ride on your Vanguard, which is something that is desperately needed because a lot of times your Magnolia is the weakest attack, only being like 13. Anyways, we're going to see that Banana Spotty coming on down, using the skill to Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1. Kind of thinking about what I want to do here because I have 2 options in reality. I can go defensive or I can go offensive here. My opponent still does have a lot of cards in hand, and they are only at 3, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for a little bit of a defensive play here, calling out a PG, which, remember, I can now intercept with, as well as another Englarver, just using my last Soul there, Soul Blasting it out, and then going to go ahead and add, I believe I added the Brave Shooter because there really wasn't anything that good to add, and then, because I do have an Alpin in my hand, otherwise I probably would have added an Alpin, but since I do have it, I'm just going to go ahead and call it. That means I have only 5 attacks this turn, theoretically, because the PG, I guess it could swing on its own, but I'd rather, like, boost with it. So I'm only going to go for 5 attacks here. The plan is to get rid of the rear guards, because, you know, Veleno is technically a deck that is pretty reliant on its rear guards. But we are going to be seeing an Elementario, which is the bane of my existence when I'm playing this deck, because, you know, I hate it when people get free Elementaria, so they're going to go ahead and do that. Now, they do actually forget to use the Scarzia skill here, because Elementaria is a Blitz order. You do actually get to draw a card and countercharge off of it, but we're going to go ahead and just continue this one. I think I do a little bit of a misplay here. I think this Englarver probably should have gone in at the Restander, because that's like a magic number, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to end up taking it. Yeah, I should have used the Englarver to take out that rear guard, and then use my Goildo to finish it off, because as you can see, I'm going to be swinging in with the Alpin here. Swinging at the Vanguard, so I do actually get the power, so I get 25, and we do see something that's a little unfortunate here, which is a cheat, and a pretty impactful one at that point. As you can see, my opponent literally played the second Blitz order for turn, and you cannot do that. That is an illegal play there. As we swing this last column for lethal, since I did get that critical cherry, it is 46, so they are going to have to guard it. So it is actually very feasible, if my opponent hadn't accidentally cheated here, that they could have just instantly died here. I think they have enough, because I think they have like 2 triggers and then like something else. But we do say the 3rd order play per turn, which they shouldn't have been able to play either, just to guard that. And then drawing another card. So realistically, they should have only drawn 1 card, so they're 1 card deeper than they should be. But, you know, I was helping them out because it seemed to be like one of their first time playing the deck. They didn't know what all the skills did. Thankfully for me, I did, so I just was like helping him out, giving him what the skills do. But I totally missed that he played 2 Blitz orders in a single turn. Although, you know, that's not unusual for this deck, but the unusual part, in case so that you guys don't yell at me in the comments, is that he did it in the wrong order. He played a normal Blitz order, and then he tried playing the get another Blitz order for this turn. But we'll see if it ends up mattering. I'll get it's definitely a very impactful, like, accidental cheat, but like I said, neither of us caught it, so we're just going to continue on with the match as is. But we do have the ideal Veleno board here. The only thing that you probably would want is that overcoming the natural death thing to be like something else, like a floor, because you hit much better numbers there. We also don't have a Persona, right? So this turn is not as scary as it could be. Swinging the 18 there, going to be guarding with the Brave Shooter. I don't have an energy, so I'm just going to counterblast, and then just going to intercept with a Banaspani. Attacking for another 18. I guess I can now mention that normally I do always like to boost the first attack because, I don't know, it just feels good. Or it's just better because, like, when it restands, it's a 23, so it's always going to be hitting over defensive, so you don't really have to worry about that. But of course, it's going to be intercepting, guarding, doing a PG because I don't want to instantly die to this really big attack here, honestly. Having a 20k booster behind the Vanguard is like nothing to sneeze at. Like, that's why Kusi was so good in my initial build, just because he kind of just makes insane numbers. But anyways, we've got this attack here. Swing for, I think, like 38? Yeah, 38. Just going to be taking that home for defensive because this other attack is technically smaller, 36. I only have to guard 38, whereas the other one I had to guard 43. So I'm going to intercept with the Inglarver, and then just guard with another one for 43. Overguarding there by 5k, but, you know, I think I would rather keep some of the cards in my hand. Anyway, so we do see the skill of that grade 1 being used there, counterblasting the 1, adding back 2 Blitz orders from the drop zone. So, you know, we got a lot of defense. So I'm thinking, like, okay, I probably can't finish things this turn, but I can definitely make a huge dent. I can probably take out both of his rear guards and, like, maybe deal him at least 1 more damage this turn. As you do see, I do have the follow-up, the Elder Reride, which is always super impactful because it's just, with the 2 Gold set up, it just gives you another 10k to your Vanguard, and you get a free unit, so it's just it's just way too good to continuously ride the Elder over and over again. The one thing I guess I do have going in my favor is, without continuously using the 20k shield, at some point, once he runs out of those, and he uses his last Blitz order, you kind of run out of shield, which is kind of the problem for Veleno. The fact that they play so many Blitz orders, but if they don't play the right ones in the right order, you kind of lose out on, like, so much shield value there. But anyways, going for a little bit of a push here, but while still keeping it, you know, kind of balanced. Because I still have that dude PG, I still have the 15k shield. Gonna be swinging at the Vanguard, they're gonna be PGing this. What I'm trying to do here is threaten lethal as much as possible. So gonna be getting another critical trigger, so once again doing the same thing we did with Banaspati, except this time it's gonna be 5k more because Alchemist is gonna be that much bigger. For now, swinging for 46 at the Vanguard for 2 damage here. Just gonna swing a lethal, and I think honestly, the rest of my game plan should be to just, like, swing in at rears, and if he tries to guard them, just continue swinging. So this is going to be a 43 here, and they're going to be using the Blitz order there, getting the 20k, drawing the card, and then of course countercharging. Definitely overguarding there, but you do kind of have to use your Blitz order at certain intervals. Like I said, you have to do things in the right order. So here I'm just thinking about how I want to swing in. So we're swinging this first 18 at that rear guard. Like I said, I'm still in a very advantageous position here. I have the PG that I can intercept with. I have a ton of attacks. And I'm going to misplay a little bit here. I think I should have swung the Goildope first. I'm just so used to swinging Alpin first because Goildope puts itself off board, and normally that reduces Alpin's power. But in this case, since I do have the PG on board, it's not even getting the extra 5k anyway, so I can easily just swing Goat first. But it doesn't really make a huge difference because, you know, he let it die anyway. So just something to think about if you ever play this deck. There's so many just, like, things you need to consider. You need to think about your lines of play. You need to think about your attack patterns, and you need to just, like, consider what can attack into van, what can attack into rears. But like you can see, I am in a super advantageous position here. I have 2 intercepts, I have a PG that I can intercept with, I've got a 15k shield that I can either use that or the PG this turn, and I still have a decently sized hand, and my opponent is really struggling for resources. They called down the grade 2, they reborn the restander, so they do have access to only 4 attacks here. And that hand size is not looking the greatest. They're also at 5. So I'm thinking, okay, next turn, I'm probably just going to push as hard as I can, and then I'll probably just finish it next turn. So all I really have to do is survive this turn. Not going to be that hard. Unfortunately, I do only have 1 PG, being the one that I do have on board, but you know, I'm probably just going to commit that to the Vanguard swing, and then I can, no matter how big these things get, especially without having Persona Ride, there really shouldn't be much of a problem with me just, you know, surviving this. As we do swing the first swing for just 18, I'm going to go ahead and use an energy cycler here, drawing a card, and then probably just going to intercept with Setting Witch Alpin, just going to intercept with the one from the front row. That way he can't just attack into it and like try and, I don't know, just like get rid of my rear guards. I'm going to go ahead and intercept with a PG here just to block it, make sure there's no shenanigans. I'm going to discard a Brave Shooter here, which we'll see is going to be a mistake because my opponent's going to be flipping over OT on first check, and I'm looking at my hand and I see there is no second PG. I just lost the game. Theoretically, as we're going to see, there would be a way for me to actually live it. I was just dumb. You know, discarding that Brave Shooter, in the moment, I was like, okay, this is probably the worst card in my hand, so I'm just going to go ahead and discard it. But as you are going to see, that Brave Shooter actually would have caused me to win the game, because even though we hit OT here, we get second check, it's going to be nothing, it's going to be a Persona Ride. Unfortunately, my PG is of course going to get bound, but my opponent, I think, also did misplay. They gave the OT power to the restander instead of, you know, the grade 2 that actually needs it, since the other one is swinging for very big. So just going to be a 15k guard there. But unfortunately, I don't have the PG for this OT. As you can see, the top card of my deck was a PG, so if I actually kept that Brave Shooter, guarded with it, counterblast to draw, I would have drawn into a PG and I would have been able to live. But that is going to be the end of the match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to always do 2 things: like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.